Colson Montgomery has been sent down to minor league camp. We talk about it next on the CHGO White Sox Podcast. CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. It's been a big day and big week for the Bears. That's why we have a free agent frenzy diehard sale going on. $36 for the year. Gets you to become a diehard. You get a shirt of your choice when you sign up. You get access to our diehard Discord channel, and you get access to all of our writings up at ALLCITY.com. And I know, especially for you draft fans, that includes Fran Duffy's NFL Draft Guide. He is our All-City Network expert. So head over, scan that QR code if you're interested, and join the fun today here at CHGO Sports. We got a Bulls show coming up later on. We had a Blackhawks show earlier where they interviewed Alex Vlasic, and we had a Cubs and Bears show. We got a ton of Chicago coverage for you here on CHGO Sports. Joey Christopoulos is helping us out. He's our producer today. If you have anything wrong with the show, if there's any issues, yell at Joey.
Ayo!
That's my thing. Out of all the words that you could say, you come in, and you don't even do it the cool way. You do it like the Harry Belafonte.
Ayo!
Yeah. All right. Well, now that's been ruined. We're gonna give
Imitation's the finest form of flattery.
Is that the imitation of me?
What's that?
Are you imitating me?
Yeah.
I say AO to start the show. Now I don't know if you're making fun of me or Harry Belafonte.
I'm doing KO now. It's my own thing. I'm branching off into
KO.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
That's your new thing.
You know how we Xerox things and things get more diluted and worse as time goes on?
I mean, Bono used to say kill your inspirations, but I mean, this is just, you just added a letter. And then I thought I could have given you a bailout. I thought you were doing the banana song, Deo.
Well, Belafonte does Deo. I'm not touching that one. I'm taking the KO corner. It's going to be mine.
I think boxing, Kevin Owens, etc. might have some issues with you. Shout out to this man. It's Les Grobstein. He has passed away, but it's his birthday. I think he would have been 71 today. I could be wrong on that. I believe he was 68 when he passed, and I believe it's been 3 years since his passing. Oh, yes, he was, and he was very proud of that. And he was probably the most interesting man I've ever met. I don't know if he should be on a beer commercial like the most interesting man in the world, but man, that guy could tell you stories, and his literal job was to talk for 5 hours, and he just did that all the time. That's the only way that I knew him, was him talking just kind of aimlessly for 5 hours, and I miss him, and I wish he was doing that show. But anyways, happy birthday to Les Grobstein. And let's get into the news of the day. Tony Gill, our director of content, called me today around 11:30 and said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Ooh, Tony, feels like one of those days that there's going to be no news. Maybe we'll talk about Davis Martin being the opening day starter." And then, about an hour later, we get the news that Colson Montgomery has been sent down to minor league camp. Tim Elko was also reassigned. I believe Peyton Paulette and Nick Nastrini were the other two that were reassigned to minor league camp. The only one that truly matters is Colson Montgomery. General Manager Chris Getz spoke to the media today. Thank you to, I think it was Chuck Garfine who had the video of Chris Getz. So thank you to him. I believe Merck also had some quotes. So shout out to those two for at least giving me the information today. What Getz said was they had a conversation with Colson, that it went well. Colson handled himself like a pro. They explained to Colson how important he is for this team's future and what they want on the front end for him in spring training, for the rest of spring training, because minor league camp has their own spring training games. And in the start of the AAA season, they want him to be really productive. They want him to lock in on the changes they make. And I honestly think it's the equivalent of seeing the ball go into the hoop. You just want to see him get rewarded for the work that he did. If he has worked his butt off to be better, you hope that once he gets those chances to prove that in the game, that he'll be able to take advantage of that. The one thing that gets mentioned was that the injury, his back stiffness, continues to hold him back and keep him unable from playing, and that was the whole reason why he didn't end up winning the job out of opening day. His back held him back so much where he played 3 games to start spring training. I believe his last game was on February 27th, then it takes him all the way until March 9th to get back into spring training action. He was supposed to be in today's game, but they reassigned him before today's game. He was in the lineup, and then they reassigned him into minor league camp, effectively ending his spring training, at least for the Chicago White Sox. It's not really a disappointment in the fact that I had no expectations that he would make the opening day roster as the starting shortstop. I always kind of side-eyed Chris Getz when he was talking him up at the GM meetings and at the winter meetings that Colson Montgomery had the opportunity. I also have the opportunity to become the White Sox play-by-play guy. I just don't think I'm ever going to get that. You know, Joey, you have the opportunity to become president. You're over 35. I believe you were born in the United States of America.
That's true.
So there you go. Joey has the opportunity one day to become president.
I'll get around to it.
Yeah, I think people are probably going to take that play-by-play comment a little bit too seriously. I don't want John Shriffin's job. He can have it. But no, the whole idea is, yeah, Colson Montgomery had the opportunity to, but things had to go, honestly, pretty perfectly for Colson Montgomery to get it. Obviously, he had to stay healthy, but he had to look like a killer out there. He had to look like every single time he was going up there that the pitchers had no clue how to attack him. He's fairly attackable. He's got a decent amount of holes in his swings right now. At a hitter-friendly park, he had a 710 OPS plus. I've seen that spouted around social media today. I think the main thing, though, is just that he can't stay healthy. The production in spring training was fine, very limited. I think he only ended up getting 9 at-bats. He had 1 home run off a lefty that looked really good. There was no StatCast data to show, he hit a home run off a 95-mile-per-hour pitch, but it was off Caleb Thielbar, a former major leaguer, or, trying to continue to stay in the major leagues, former Twin. He was able to take him deep, lefty on lefty. We've seen a couple of those instances where Colson's been able to handle fastballs at the knee against lefties. But one thing that we have massive questions about is his ability against velocity. And I gave you the stats yesterday. Only 4 pitches he saw that were 95 miles or above. So he just never got those opportunities to see that high velocity. It is, again, disappointing for him. There weren't high expectations for him. I still pegged him as a guy that would debut in June. I think that's still possible if he locks in and looks really good at Charlotte. Austin saying only disappointment was his back injury flaring back. Yeah, I don't even know if that's a disappointment. I think that's a huge red flag. Like, that's a major concern. Salute. Shout out to Herb. Like, he wasn't injured. He had a whole offseason to get healthy, to hopefully strengthen up his back. Like, now I have questions and worries, like, is this going to be chronic? Is he even going to be able to play consistently, 4 to 5 times a week in Charlotte? That's the biggest concern that I have. I'm not even concerned that if he's talented enough. He could have all the talent in the world. They talk about how he's a 2-sport athlete. I can't even be a 1-sport athlete. But I don't know if his back's going to allow him. Like, that's a major concern. Getz did say that he was impressed by his defense and that he could handle the routine plays.
Thank God.
Thank God. Whew. Thank God. He could pick it up and throw it.
Oh, boy.
He could pick it up and throw it. Yeah, I don't know if he got rave reviews, but also I don't know if he even got the chance to give them rave reviews. So it's extremely concerning. But at the end of the day, not disappointing and not missing expectations. If you had expectations that Colson Montgomery was the opening day starting shortstop, I think you were reading things a little bit wrong.
How many grains of sand are left in the hourglass of Colson Montgomery at shortstop?
The clock hasn't started. What
do
you mean by that?
You think there's plenty of time then?
Oh, at shortstop.
To prove that he should stay at shortstop before moving to third base.
Again, if they think that it's a thing that will continue to get him injured, if they think that the long running and the range factor of the shortstop position is what's hurting him, then maybe. But the White Sox have every reason, and Chris Getz explained to Colson Montgomery how important you are. We have no other shortstops. Jacob Gonzalez cannot hit. You need to hit. Caleb Bonham is only 19. He can't legally drink. Colson, please. Like, it's dire. So
where's Juan Uribe?
I think Colson Montgomery, his kids, I think, still in the organization. I think that Colson's going to get the shot to stick at shortstop. It's mainly, will Colson's back give him the opportunity to stick at shortstop? So the what's it called? What's the tumbler? The flipper. You're talking about
the hourglass.
The hourglass, right? Yeah. I think the hourglass is full.
Yeah.
Maybe
the Sox have time to be patient too, as well.
Right. They haven't flipped that yet. So Victor Von Doom says, super disappointed. Give him more reps. Let's see how he does more with the glove. Absolutely. Let's give him those opportunities. Josh Nelson did bring up this one factor, the prospect promotion incentive benefit. Earning an extra top 50 draft pick would be a worthwhile endeavor for Chris Getz. Again, with that, a player with little or no MLB service time needs to break camp with the team or be called up within 2 weeks of opening day. Then they must spend all or most of the rookie year in the big leagues. Then they must either win one of the league's Rookie of the Year award or place in the top 3 for MVP or Cy Young. First of all, I don't think Colson Montgomery was going to be finishing in the top 3 of MVP. But also, does this immediately mean that he won't get called up? Chris Getz said front half. I think he might have even said first half. Are they going to give him all the way up to the All-Star break? Do they even start that service time until after September? He has to, again, prove himself, and he didn't even do that last year. I don't know if it's a for sure sign that Colson Montgomery will be pressing the gas and turning up the heat on Chris Getz to call him up. I think Colson Montgomery has to earn this. I don't think he's just going to get called up in June if he's playing well. So I totally hear Josh out on that, but I just don't think Colson Montgomery's good enough to win that award, and B, I don't know if he's going to put the pressure on the team to call him up by, that point where he's going to start accruing a major amount of service time. Because I think if he's only called up in September, I think he would still be eligible for the award. I could be wrong. Please let me know. The second part of that, too, players who made an opening day roster and accrued the service time but didn't factor in any awards that year retain PPI eligibility. They need to place in the top 3 for MVP or Cy Young before hitting arbitration. That typically allows a 3-year window. So obviously Colson's missing out on that 3-year window. So I guess that's the biggest contention that Josh has, but I wasn't expecting him to make the opening day roster, so this isn't too shocking. Again, it would have been worthwhile for Chris Getz, but that's if, Colson Montgomery hits. I don't think Colson Montgomery is going to hit at the major league level, at least right now. I think Colson Montgomery has to go improve that, and just leaving him on opening day and kind of, letting him swim in the deep end, I feel like is a terrible idea. So I'm a little iffy on, the idea that Colson Montgomery should have been here on opening day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will talk now about who's the next opening day, or who's going to be the opening day shortstop for the Chicago White Sox, if not Colson Montgomery. We're going to take a break before we do that, and we're going to let you know about our friends over at Ray CDJR. Get more power to you during Dodge Performance Days at Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Now is your chance to score a great deal on your next vehicle. Head to Ray CDJR on Route 12 to choose from their huge inventory of new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram vehicles. And right now, lease the new 2024 Dodge Charger Daytona for only $259 a month. Or get 0% financing for 72 months. Plus, shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. With a friendly team of brand experts, the team at Ray CDJR is help you during each step of your car shopping journey. Plus, since they prioritize affordability, you won't overpay for the vehicle that you need. And with Ray's Price Promise, you can confidently shop with no add-ons or no hidden fees ever. The price you see is the price you pay. It's that simple. So go check out our partner at Ray Chevy and shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories. Don't miss out on Dodge Performance Days going on all month long for low leasing and financing rates on the new 2024 Dodge Charger. For more information, visit Ray CDJR on Route 12 in Fox Lake or online at raycdjr.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Waymo. If you are planning to go see Colson Montgomery at Camelback Ranch this spring, you might be missing out on Colson Montgomery, but you can cheer yourself up by taking a Waymo. It's a ride-hailing service that is autonomous. Waymo's autonomous ride-hailing service consists consists entirely of all-electric Jaguar I-Pace vehicles, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for our riders. They have over 150,000 trips per week across San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix, and Waymo was the first ever company to serve a fully autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel in 2015. Waymo has over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience. That's enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times. Hey, I wouldn't want to fly to the moon if, I don't think Waymo offers moon flights, but I would want my moon flight to be autonomous.
I'm very forgetful. If I drove to the moon, I'd forget stuff. I'd have to go back, and that's where Waymo comes.
And you could just, not worry about driving.
My
you
keys.
could just focus on sitting in the car. So go sit in the car, have fun with Waymo, our autonomous ride-hailing service partners. If you're heading out to Arizona for spring training, download the Waymo One app and get ready to experience the future. All right. Austin says he hasn't been good since single A. I never understood the rush on the kid. He was a little impressive in fall ball his 2023 year. He was better in 2024, but again, that's another year that he had to do it, and he was doing it again. He was really good at fall ball last year. I'm forgetting the actual name of it. But the rush was half because of Project Birmingham. So that's why they called him up to Birmingham in the first place. And then he was already up at Birmingham, so they left him at Birmingham. I agree with you, Austin. I do feel like he's been fairly rushed, and not only rushed, he's injured. And if you're worried about the White Sox training staff, as you should be, as you always would be, you worried about that flashing up? You're fine. You're connected to Ethernet.
No.
Okay.
You mentioned the White Sox.
Oh, okay.
the
it said Wi-Fi not connected, so I thought Joey started to think oh no, we're off air. No, the White Sox training staff. Dun.
Yeah, no, ever since Herm.
Well, did you see the thing from Julia Poe? She was, in the scrum with Ayo Dosunmu after he was talking about his injury, and he said he's had a fractured back for a year or two. That the Bulls medical staff missed a fracture in his back for over a year. That's so White Sox. What?
Shout
the
out
White
they
Sox
didn't
don't tell their
Degum.
people how to stretch, and the Bulls can't identify a fracture in the back. So, hey, Colson, maybe get an outside doctor. Maybe that's what's up with your back. I'm just a little bit concerned about the White Sox as well. I know Chris Getz talked to, I believe, MLB Network Radio about improving the health and the training staff already, and that's something that they did this offseason. But, man, that's not a good ringing endorsement for the Bulls. And that's not a good ringing endorsement for Reinsdorf's own teams. That's just disgusting. But anyways, and Austin's chanting Jerry in the chat. Anyways, who's going to be the starting shortstop for your 2025 Chicago White Sox? It's down to 3-ish, 4-ish players. I think we're gonna say 4. The one I'm kind of iffy on is Josh Rojas. Josh Rojas has played shortstop before, but that was about 2 years ago. But Nicky Lopez hadn't played shortstop for about 2 years. He played it a little bit with Kansas City, but not, I think last time he played it was 2021, and they didn't care to roll him out last year at shortstop. So it wouldn't be preposterous for them to play Rojas at shortstop. I believe he played shortstop or started at shortstop yesterday, or then was flipped from second base to shortstop. So I'm a little iffy on Rojas. I wouldn't put him at shortstop. I would try out someone younger, but I'll include Rojas. The other 3, Brooks Baldwin, who does have options, doesn't even need to make the major league team, but typically a shortstop, a utility player, but can play shortstop. Lenyn Sosa, who hasn't been trusted to play shortstop, could have played shortstop last year, but they decided to put Nicky Lopez there. They decided to put Paul DeJong there. So a guy that they didn't trust to play shortstop the prior year, but apparently might now. And then my guy, Jake Amaya, who they DFA'd. And then the Orioles DFA'd. And then the White Sox are like, ooh, we might need him back. I think it's going to be Jake Amaya. I think Vargas is pretty iffy on that right side of the infield. I'm looking from third base and shortstop perspective. I am the shortstop. I'd be on the right side of the infield. Maybe left field. I'm on the right side of the field. I guess if you're, maybe the catcher, maybe the hitter, maybe even the umpire, maybe even the the broadcasters. Maybe that would be the left side of the infield. So Third base is a little iffy defensively is what I'm trying to say. I don't think you can have Colson with his iffy defense also be there. I don't think you can have my guy Lenin Sosa and his Venezuelan Winter League ball stats at shortstop. I'm even iffy on Rojas because he hasn't played there for 2 years. I don't think he's just magically gotten better defensively to have more range to be a better shortstop. I think your true choices, if you are Chris Getz, you can call up Chase Mydroth and then have him, Brooks Baldwin, and Amaya kind of switch off. You just have Amaya hold it down, which I think is probably most likely, and Baldwin will be on the bench. Or you can try to sign somebody. But my guy, Tim Anderson, is already on the Angels playing center field. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Our guy.
And Moncado and Deep the other day.
Yeah, did he?
I think he did.
Sick. Yeah, Tim finally pulled his first baseball. He pulled his first baseball in the air since 2022. He had a home run. It was 2023. But it was about 2 years since he last pulled a ball. And it was about like a 68 mile per hour like loop single. I remember watching it here. Like it's so vivid in my mind because I was like, oh, Tim's back. Tim's starting to pull the ball. And he finally hits a home run. And then, like, I think, 5 games later, he's done nothing, and he's now in center field. Anyways, I don't think there's any cavalry coming. I think who you got is who you got. So I think who you got is going to end up being Jake Amaya as your opening day shortstop. Woo-hoo. Fun stuff. Maybe Baldwin, but Amaya was trusted last year. Amaya's got an all right glove. Probably won't be able to hit his weight, but you just kind of have to tread water until June if Colson proves himself. Did Chris Getz set this team up for success? No. And I think it's mainly because he didn't have the money. I told you a couple months ago, I think 2 months ago, whenever this offseason started, that they weren't going to sign anyone over $5 million, or at least Andrew Vaughn's estimated arbitration number, which I think was $6 million. Martin Perez got to $5 million, and that's barely because he got the buyout for next year. Like, they're not spending on this team. They're expected to win more, but they also were the losingest team in Major League history. Like, you better hope. I think the veterans that they brought in, like Talkman and Slater and Taylor, it was a good idea. Gallo even. It was a good idea. I think it's going to give them probably more of a level baseline. But there's no guarantee in any of these players. Like Fat Hipster's bringing up Gallo should not be on this team. Victor Von Doom saying Gallo is terrible. He strikes out a lot. That's what he does. I think he should be given a shot because he's at least proven himself. He's got, I think, 1,000 plate appearances in Major League career. What has Tim Elko ever done? Like, you think Tim Elko is just going to be 100% better? Like, Tim Elko hasn't raked at Charlotte and Birmingham. He's hit a lot of home runs. Is that going to make him that much better or better than Gallo? Like, I get that he's younger, but I think Gallo has proven that he can hit 20 home runs in a season. I think he only hit 11 last year, so maybe he is broken goods, but I think they got to give Gallo or, even Brandon Drury, if you don't like Gallo, give Drury an option or give Drury the chance to make it because it seems like, this team is just completely void of talent. I think that's probably what they're going to end up doing, by the way. I would go with Amaya, keep Rojas a second, and then you could have your DH be Brandon Drury. I don't know really what to do with Brooks Baldwin. But I think what they'll likely do, Rojas at shortstop, Drury at second base, and then DH is kind of open for Andrew Benintendi to slide in there if he's ready by opening day. I think left field's manned by Taylor, center, Robert, right field, Talkman, Slater. First base, they're going to give your guy Andrew Vaughn rope. I think Gallo's going to be there just for when righties are going to be on the mound. And then Vargas is going to be at third base. And Fat Hipster said, I said no Gallo. I didn't say yes Elko. But guess what, guys? Like, that's next man up is Tim Elko. They don't have anybody. Like, who else is going to be making this team? They all suck.
Or who can hit the
They're
ball
all
400
terrible.
feet?
Joey Gallo can. Can he do it consistently? No. But that's why he's 31 with a job.
And can we real, like, we'll be at the rate, and Gallo will hit a bomb in the 5th inning, and it will be fun. If we're looking for stuff. And maybe a team in May or June will be like, you know what, give me that bench power.
See, but no, you're thinking way too optimistic here. We just need him to make the team.
That's my life.
You're trying to get a prospect for him. You're even getting to the optimistic point where he's going to hit a home run. Joey, can he make the team? Joey, is he going to get a uniform that says Gallo 13 on the back? God, I hope not, because they got to retire Ozzy's number. But, you know, he's got to pick a new number. I hear you guys' point of, you know, Elko or no Gallo and Elko, but like, just they suck. But I think Drury is going to end up being the second baseman. I'm just now talking to Fat Hipster. Fat Hipster, we got to get you on the phone line. But yeah, I think that's going to be the Hooters hotline. Yeah, I think that's going to be the end all be all. I think Rojas is going to be your shortstop. You're going to have Drury be your second baseman, Tice, Slater, Sosa, and then I think you'll put Baldwin on the bench. And Baldwin can be there to give Rojas a break. If Drury needs a break and he needs to be DH, you could slide Rojas over and Baldwin could play shortstop. Like, I think that's what's going to end up being it with Gallo hanging out. I mean, actually, I don't even have Gallo on this roster. Maybe I should look at my own roster. I don't have Gallo on this roster, so there you go. Congratulations to our guy, Fat Hipster. He has now talked Joey Gallo off of the roster over the past 3 minutes. Victor Von Doom saying, should they give Shane Smith more leeway? He looked very good against the Dodgers. Victor, you clearly missed yesterday's episode. Go back and listen to it. We talked about Shane Smith. We talked about Sean Burke. I think that if Sean Burke pitching in a minor league game, because he was reassigned like Elko, where I don't know I think he's got the flexibility to come back and forth. If Smith is on the opening day roster, he might get a start. But at the end of the day, he's going to be in the bullpen if he fails as a starter because they don't want to give him back to Milwaukee. Like, I think he's going to be given like complete leeway this season to try to make it on the team. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be as a starter, but he just pitched 3 innings. So if I had to lean, I think it would be Cannon, Martin Perez, Shane Smith, Bryce Wilson in the opening day rotation. I don't love the idea of Shane Smith being there. I'd rather see Sean Burke, but I think they're not rushing it. I think Burke hasn't proven that he could throw like 120 innings, so they might just kind of ease him into the year. So then that way when he comes up in June, maybe he's got like 3 to 4 starts under him, and then he can hit the ground running at the major league level because I think he's major league ready. I think they're just kind of seeing what they can get out of some of these veteran arms that they brought in. Penn Murphy's been very good. There's no reason to cut him. Tyler Gilbert's been good. There's no reason to cut him. Jordan Leisure's been interesting. I think Jared Schuster should make the team. Bryce Wilson, Anderson, they seemingly want to give Clevenger a shot. So I think that Shane Smith will get leeway for sure, but I don't know if like that's going to be as a starter. I think he's got to kind of prove himself, but I think he'll get at least a shot to answer yourself. So I said, go check out yesterday's show, but I ended up giving him an answer anyways. Oh, well. All right. We got about 3 minutes here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. I will talk a little bit now about Davis Martin because Davis Martin, I think, is your opening day starter. He's been the better of the two out of Cannon and Davis Martin in spring training. Martin was like pretty good to end the year last year, and I think with this kick change, giving him the four-seam fastball, the cutter that moves into lefties, the slider that moves into lefties and away from righties, and then the kick change that moves completely away from lefties into righties. I think he's got like a true full repertoire as a starting pitcher, and I think he trusts that repertoire a little bit more than Cannon. It seems like Cannon, especially in that first start, was trying to figure out some things, whether that be his sweeper to left-handed pitchers or left-handed hitters or his changeup as well, the left-handed hitters. I think he's trying to figure out and trust that arsenal a little bit more. So I think Davis Martin has likely won that job in spring training. There are still about 15 games left to see who will be the opening day starter. But if I had to put money on it right now, I think the people that originally leaned Davis Martin will end up being right. I thought it was Cannon, but oh no. I'm going to have to eat crow. Have you ever eaten crow?
I can't say that I have. Figuratively, not literally.
You've never literally eaten. You never like spatchcocked a crow.
I've never literally eaten crow, but that's just,
I'd assume
this is me and my sheltered ways.
I'd assume it's gamey.
Ooh, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of meat on that bone.
I don't.
Unless you
Maybe not.
Unless you fry up the feet.
Fat Hipster says maybe there's a shortstop with no option that doesn't make their team or their current team roster. Maybe, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's just going to be Amaya or Rojas. Getz is probably with you, crossing his fingers and hoping that somebody gets cut or doesn't make that final crunch. But even then, I don't think they're going to be that interesting. I mean, maybe there's an Elvis Andrew-esque signing of not Miguel Vargas and not Miguel Rojas. I'm thinking of, oh, God, this is a great show today. Who's the guy that Jose Iglesias.
Oh.
Wow.
Sure.
The guy that had the song Wow.
He's a dandy glove man.
He's got a decent glove. He was pretty good, at least hitting the ball last year. I mean, maybe that's their final hope. Maybe they stood the point where they are with Colson today, and they're talking to people tomorrow or today, and we'll have an answer tomorrow. But I think that's best case scenario. But honestly, I think your shortstop is currently on the roster. Final thing, as we wrap up here, we got about 2 minutes left. I want to give a shout out to Daryl Van Schouwen, who announced after 15 years of covering the Chicago White Sox beat and 37 years with the Chicago Sun-Times, this will be his last with the White Sox. 3 kids, 7 grandchildren, and 1 buyout later. It's the perfect time to call it a career. The Sox last day of camp will be mine as well. Very surprising there from Daryl. Obviously, I don't know if the Sun-Times is in the best of shapes, and I know that especially the union has fought very hard to get those writers paid. But at the end of the day, maybe it's not the end that Daryl wanted, but Daryl has done a fantastic job in Chicago and a fantastic job over the past 15 years with the Chicago Sox. I don't know why I said Chicago Sox and not White Sox, but Vinny always talked about how of a professional Daryl was, how Daryl had his own sense of humor, and that especially if you were around him, you really got to love Daryl. So I know that the beat will gladly, greatly miss Daryl Van Schouwen, but also I'll miss him. He did a great job. Was never wrong. Always stuck to his guns. I don't know if stuck to his guns is the right thing, but he just did a good job. Come on, he did a great job for 15 years.
He was a pro. He was a pro's pro.
Yes,
100%.
Absolutely. So shout out to Daryl as he walks away from White Sox camp. I wonder who would be good for that job.
I can think of
one person. I can think of one person with a massive mustache, the size of Nebraska.
Denny Vuber?
Exactly, yes. Kevin says, just talk about Schultz. No, I did yesterday. I can't talk about him for the rest of the day. Anyways, hit the thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. I think over the past 2 months, this has been my worst show. Solo by myself. So thank you to 16 people hanging out with me. And we will talk to you on Thursday when I'll be much more prepared. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.